Far from the light of the stars, an old space station had become a place known to humanity as the Dark Bazaar. Here, various alien species that had clashed with humanity were being used as commercial commodities. In the depths of the bazaar, these captured aliens were displayed before being sold to wealthy human collectors. The Dark Bazaar was a massive space station beyond the control of the Galactic Union, where both legal and illegal trade flourished. It was a place that hid humanity's darkest secrets. The station's atmosphere was filled with dimly lit corridors, and the occasional scent of decaying metal added to the oppressive weight in the air. On the lower levels of the bazaar, captive alien species were typically displayed. These aliens awaited their fate, to be sold to human collectors or scientists. Duran sat at a long metallic table in the captivity area on the lowest level of the bazaar. His large black eyes appeared to be examining the food on the table, but in reality, his mind was elsewhere. Like the other captives, Duran spent his days in silence, constantly revisiting his escape plan in his mind. Another alien, with veins visible beneath its skin from the stress of survival, approached Duran with a worried voice. "Duran, we're never going to get out of here, are we?" it said, trembling. Without lifting his gaze from the food, Duran replied, "We will. We're just waiting for the right moment." The alien was surprised by Theron's calmness. "But how? These humans are too strong. Their security systems, their weapons. What can captives like us do?" Duran finally lifted his head and looked at the alien, his calm demeanor unshaken. "Strength isn't just physical. Strategy, intelligence, and patience. These are just as important as strength. And remember, even the smallest spark can ignite a fire if we come together." That night, Duran secretly gathered the other captives. They huddled in a quiet, dark corner. Fear and anxiety were etched on everyone's faces, but Theron's determination gave them a glimmer of hope. "I've studied the security systems of this prison," Duran said in a low voice. "There's a weak spot. If we can access the security center, we can open all the doors. The number of guards is low, we can easily overpower them." One alien, fearful, objected, "But what if we fail? What if they catch us?" Duran placed a calming hand on the alien's shoulder. "This is our only chance. How much longer can we stay here? We're growing weaker by the day. If we don't act now, we might never get another opportunity." The others nodded silently. Everyone trusted Duran, for he was not just a leader but also a symbol of hope. One day, chaos erupted in the prison, making Theron's task easier. The heavy footsteps echoing in the lower levels of the Dark Bazaar struck the ears of the captives like a looming threat trapped between the concrete walls. The grim lights of the prison filtered through rusty lamps hanging from the ceiling, creating a dim atmosphere. Here, everything had turned into a battlefield where survival was the only goal. Cross, the leader of the Vars, stood tall with his massive blue muscles gleaming, facing Torque, the leader of the Krongs. Torque's crimson skin glowed with rage. The tension between them was so intense it could have set fire to the air. The two leaders stared each other down in the center of the ring, silently challenging one another. The other captives around them awaited the moment when the fight would explode. Cross took a deep breath, his blue skin tensing. "For years, we've been fighting against those who keep us in these stinking cells," he roared. "But you, Torque, instead of standing with us, you put obstacles in the way of our unity." Torque replied with a sneer on his lips. "Unity? With you? Vars only care about their own power. You could never lead us." Cross stepped closer, locking eyes with Torque. "When I find a way out of this prison, I will destroy you, Torque. I swear it." Suddenly, Torque's fist struck Cross's face. It was like the first burst of lava from an erupting volcano. Cross didn't retreat but took the punch head-on and responded with a powerful blow of his own. Sparks flew as the two engaged in a fierce battle. Punches, bites, and strikes followed one another. Each blow echoed across the concrete floor. The Vars and Krongs quickly moved to support their leaders. The clash instantly escalated into a full-blown riot. The prison corridors became the epicenter of chaos. The captives shook the iron bars and shouted, while the guards struggled to maintain control. A Krang attacked Cross, but a Var grabbed the Krang by the throat from behind. "Creatures like you have been trying to crush us for years," the Var said through gritted teeth. "But enough is enough." The Krang snarled, clawing at the Var's face and throwing him aside. "Sharing the same cell with you is an insult." Meanwhile, one of the guards tried to sound the emergency alarm but was attacked by a Krang. The guard clutched his helmet, trying to defend himself, but was overpowered and thrown to the ground by the Krang's sheer strength. As the alarms began to blare, an explosion echoed through the prison floor. This sound was a signal that the riot was about to escalate even further. Gokun watched the chaos unfold from the security center of the command post. The sight of the two species attacking each other with such ferocity filled him with concern. "This is going to lead to a much bigger problem," he muttered. "If this riot spreads, the lower levels of the Dark Bazaar will turn into hell." One of his aides turned to him in a panic. "What should we do? The guards can't control the situation." Gokun stared thoughtfully at the screen. "Send in the emergency response team. And be prepared. This might be just the beginning." The sounds of battle cries and clashes echoed through the corridors, growing louder and more intense in the depths of the prison. The war between the Vars and the Krongs posed not only a threat to the prisoners, but also to the delicate balance of the Dark Bazaar. The entire prison was gradually being pulled into the grip of chaos. The Ran could feel his pulse quicken in rhythm with the chaos reverberating through the depths of the prison. He had felt the weight of captivity within these cold and dark walls for years, but now, the time had come to put his long-planned strategy into action. Narrowing his eyes, he moved down the corridor, the echoes of battle cries and the shouts of guards only strengthening his resolve. "Now," he whispered to himself, hiding behind a metallic wall. Two close allies stood by his side, nodding at each other. Each was prepared with portable electronic devices to disable the security systems. Theron's team consisted of skilled hackers who had committed various crimes before being imprisoned. Tonight, their skills would be tested in full. The first phase of the plan was to further inflame the conflict between the Vars and the Krongs. The Ran activated a preset signal with a small device in his hand. The signal disrupted the communication devices in the helmets of the Var and Krang leaders, sending misleading orders that stoked their mutual rage. Messages like "Torque's men, eliminate the Vars," deepened the chaos on both sides. Cross lunged at the enemy like a beast, his fists and muscles becoming a war cry that echoed among the Vars. At the same time, pure fury shone in Torque's eyes. "Tonight the blood of the Vars will paint these walls," he shouted, leading his Krongs into a fierce charge. The battle intensified without pause, fists and teeth decorating the concrete walls with blood as the guards watched helplessly. The Ran signaled to his team as he saw the chaos reach its peak. "Now it's time to move," he said quietly. The team quickly advanced toward the security gates at the end of the corridor. A massive lock securing the door was swiftly bypassed by Xin, one of Theron's hackers. As Xin's fingers danced across the keyboard, the Ran took a deep breath. When the lock was disengaged, they silently slipped into the control room. The control room was filled with monitors displaying different sections of the prison. One of the guards, overwhelmed by the chaos, was frantically staring at the screens. The Ran glided towards him and knocked him out with a strong blow. "We don't have much time," the Ran said. "We need to disable the system." Xin quickly took his place at the control panel. His fingers once again moved swiftly across the keyboard. "Bypassing security systems. Doors are opening." At that moment, another guard entered through the door. The Ran, with quick reflexes, lunged at him, took him down, and disarmed him. "Hurry up, Xin," he called out. Xin was sweating. "Just a little more." "Done." "The doors are open," he said, and the monitors showed the prison doors opening one by one. The Ran paused for a moment and looked out the control room door. A riot had broken out throughout the prison. The prisoners were flooding out through the open doors, attacking the guards. Theron's eyes gleamed. "We did it," he whispered. But his joy was short-lived. The prison alarm started blaring again, this time with a stronger sound. Theron quickly realized the new threat. "Everyone stay alert," he warned his team. "This is just the beginning. The guards and reinforcements will soon swarm in." The chaos had now reached an irreversible point. Theron and his team found themselves in the midst of a dangerous game. They now had to take the final step to completely take control of the prison and escape. The last obstacle standing in their way was the central security room, which granted access to the prison's main control systems. Reaching it was the key to both their escape and their freedom. As the doors continued to open, the prisoners of the Dark Bazaar surged out with fury. The pent-up rage and hatred behind those rusty doors had reached a boiling point. The prison had now turned into a battlefield. Theron and his team took advantage of the chaos to swiftly seize the most critical points of the space station. Theron watched the scene unfold below from a high platform. Below, the prisoners were attacking the guards in waves, bringing them down. The entire prison had become a living hell. Metallic screams, explosions, and furious shouts mingled together. Theron narrowed his eyes as he mentally reviewed the escape plan. There was no turning back now. Zin, standing beside him, quickly turned to him. "Theron, we need to reach the main control room to completely disable the security systems." "But it's protected by thick armor plates," he said. "I know," Theron replied with determination. "But this is our only chance. We have to breach those armor plates." After a moment of hesitation, he turned to a burly Krang warrior standing beside him. "Cross, I heard you're good with explosives." Cross bared his teeth and nodded his massive head. "I've got explosives strong enough to blow apart not just those plates, but a starship if needed." Theron slapped the Krang's hand firmly. "Good. Then get those explosives ready, because we need to tear through those plates." The team moved quickly toward the control room. As they advanced through the corridors, they were ambushed by guards at every corner, but each one was skillfully neutralized. Theron silently knocked out a guard by wrapping a thin wire around his neck and opened the way for his team. "Come on, hurry up," he whispered. When they reached the door of the control room, Cross placed large explosives on the armored surface of the door. "Everyone get back," he shouted and then took several steps back. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Cross's voice was followed by a deafening explosion. The armor plates were blown to pieces. Shards of metal flew in every direction. The door to the control room was now nothing more than a pile of debris. The team quickly stormed inside. The few guards inside panicked and reached for their weapons, but Theron and his team moved too fast. Zin took down one of the guards, while Theron neutralized the other with an energy blade. The control room was now fully under their control. Theron approached the massive control panel at the center of the room. "This is the heart of the entire prison," he said. "Zin, shut down the system." Zin quickly took his seat at the panel, his fingers once again dancing across the keyboard. The screens went dark one by one, locks disengaged, and security cameras were disabled. "Systems are down," Zin reported. "Now all that's left is to open the exit doors." Theron took a deep breath. "Everyone stay sharp," he told his team. "We need to stay on high alert until our escape route is fully secured. The humans will do anything to keep us here." As heavy footsteps echoed from outside, guards and soldiers, realizing the gravity of the situation, advanced toward the control room. Theron observed their movements through the security cameras on the walls. "They're approaching," he said in a calm but determined voice. "Get ready. They'll try to stop us from getting out." Cross prepared his explosives with an energetic grin. "Let them come, I've got a little welcome gift for them." As the team waited for the doors to open, the Ran closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He knew the seriousness of their situation, but at the same time, he felt the taste of freedom closer than ever before. Zin, when will the doors open? He asked. Zin quickly glanced at the screens. 1 more minute, he replied. We can wait that long, can't we? Of course, the Ran said. 1 more minute. Until the doors opened, that minute felt like a lifetime. Every second, a relentless struggle continued between the prisoners and the guards. But finally, a signal sounded, and the exit doors began to open one by one. Now! The Ran shouted. The team quickly rushed toward the exit. Guards and soldiers made one last desperate effort to stop them, but the Ran and his team overcame this final obstacle as well. They burst through the exit doors and finally gained their freedom. As the Ran stepped outside, he took a deep breath. The cold space air filled his lungs, and a faint smile appeared on his face. We're free now, he whispered. But this is just the beginning. Under the dark sky of the space station, the Ran and his team stood on the brink of a new life. The chaos they left behind had made their escape to freedom even more meaningful. But the new path ahead of them would be filled with other challenges and dangers. The Ran, willing to face these dangers, turned to his teammates and resolutely began to move forward. For freedom, they would continue to fight. As they turned a corner, they saw a group of armed human guards waiting for them at the end of the corridor. The guards had taken every measure to stop the prisoners. The Ran knew they had to push forward rather than turn back and flee. Gripping his weapon tightly, he called out to the others. Keep going. We have to get past them. The guards did everything they could to stop the prisoners. The Ran and his group engaged in direct combat with the guards who opened fire. The corridor was filled with the echoes of explosions and gunfire. The prisoners began to suffer losses, but the Ran didn't hesitate for a moment as he pushed forward. An alien collapsed to the ground, wounded. His companion tried to lift him, but the Ran shouted at him, "Leave him. If we stop now, we'll all die." The alien, tears in his eyes, had to leave his friend behind and followed the Ran. As the guards were neutralized one by one, the prisoners' morale began to rise again. However, the cost of their escape was high. Many of their comrades had been left behind. The Ran finally reached the end of their escape route, the hangar where the ships were docked. But here, a new danger awaited them. As they hurried into the hangar, they noticed a large warship preparing to take off. This ship was about to cut off their escape route and recapture those who had fled. We have to stop that ship. The Ran shouted. If it takes off, we won't stand a chance. The prisoners sprinted to the other side of the hangar, attempting to sabotage the ship's control systems. The Ran advanced toward the landing ramp, taking down a few more guards along the way. But just then, an explosion occurred, injuring one of his arms. Ignoring the pain, he managed to reach the ship's control system and short-circuit it. The ship's engine suddenly powered down, and the takeoff was aborted. Holding his injured arm, the Ran turned to the others. Now. This is our chance. We need to board the remaining ships and escape immediately. The prisoners quickly ran to the ships, piling inside. The Ran ensured everyone had boarded safely before he entered the last ship and sealed the door. The ships quickly departed from the hangar, heading into the dark expanse of space. But the danger was not yet over. Several human warships launched from the prison ship, beginning to pursue them. The Ran took the controls and called out to the other prisoners. Everyone to your stations. We have to evade those ships. As the escaping ships sped through the stars, the human warships gave chase. Thanks to their ship's maneuverability, the prisoners managed to evade a few enemy vessels, but one continued to pursue them. The Ran devised a plan to take out the pursuing ship. I'm steering us toward a nearby asteroid field. We'll lure them into a trap among the asteroids. The ships dove into the massive asteroid field, with the pursuing warship following close behind. The Ran hid behind one of the asteroids, waiting for the enemy ship to pass. At that moment, he spun the ship around and fired. The enemy ship, caught off guard by the unexpected maneuver, collided directly with an asteroid and exploded. Once Theran and the other prisoners reached a safe distance, they all breathed a sigh of relief. But the marks of the battle and the losses they had suffered were evident on everyone's faces. Theran silently watched the vastness of space, holding his injured arm. He realized once again just how hard-earned their freedom truly was. I hope you had a good time. If you liked my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye, see you in the next story.